So what caused this house explosion in Northern Virginia? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the house explosion in Arlington, Virginia, which is in the northern part of the state, not too far from DC. Now, this story is pretty interesting, and a lot of the same things that we have seen in other cases are present in this case. First of all, this was not an accident. The person on the inside of the house shot a flare gun, and I'm not sure if he hit explosives or if he hit a gas line or something, but this was not an accident. He was being questioned by police as they were serving a search warrant. They were trying to get him out of the house. So this appears to be a barricade type situation. He wasn't really listening. The police and the federales knew about this guy before the explosion happened. He had written a bunch of letters and whatnot to members of the government, and he's gotten some responses back. The federales have come to visit this man, so he is no stranger to the authorities. He had been unraveling for a while. There were some apparent mental health issues. You know, the same old thing. They knew about him. He was on the radar, mental health, the whole 9 yards. Now, before we go any further, let's check out the explosion. Then we're going to look at this particular individual. We're going to identify him. Then we're going to get local news out there on the ground in Northern Virginia. And if you want to see any of these particular clips, I will link to them in the description box. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this. So that's pretty dramatic. Now, let's check out who allegedly did this. That's him right there, James Yu. Now, this person, again, was well known to the authorities. They had visited him before. This is no stranger. And apparently, like I said, he had been suffering from some kind of mental situation. Again, it's always the same thing. It's a pattern at this point. And I'm reading some of this here. This is his LinkedIn page. And on his LinkedIn, they found this long rambling rant against his neighbors. We're going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. But underneath his name, it says James's YouTube channel, a bunch of different. It's not even like a regular URL. It's like the default URL. It's not a customized URL anyway. It says U.S. is the world's biggest terrorist. And then he quotes Noam Chomsky, 2015. F the police, Ice Cube with NWA. He had something with rap. It's crazy. I don't mean to laugh like it's funny, but it's crazy. Hashtag purge_them, former head global security with CFIUS experience. So that's him. He has 500 plus connections. So he's pretty active on LinkedIn. And we're going to get into the news clip. Then we're going to get into more from Mr. James Yu.
Stunning video out of Arlington, Virginia tonight. A home in the Ballston area leveled in an explosion. The blast happened as police were trying to execute a search warrant at a home where the suspect was shooting a flare gun.
And our Lily Zhang is live on the scene. All of this unfolding in the 800 block of North Burlington Street. Still a very, very active scene behind you, Lily. What do you know so far?
Yeah, guys, right now we're set up on Wilson and George Mason. This is a few blocks away from where that explosion happened. It's about as close as you're going to get, as safely as you can get, and certainly an area that's garnered a lot of attention from people in this community. I'm going to step out of the way real quick so you guys can see what's actually happening behind us. As you can see, lots of police activity, lots of fire trucks out here, stretching a few blocks, again, off of George Wilson Boulevard, or George Mason rather, Boulevard here. So as we've learned so far, a lot of the information we've gathered is preliminary. As officers are trying to execute a search warrant, we're told that a suspect shot several rounds inside his home. And we know, again, this was a flare gun that was apparently used. An explosion had occurred.
So the question is, did he shoot several rounds of just a regular weapon, like a rifle, a handgun, or was it rounds from the flare gun? That's a pretty important distinction to make, because I think maybe the flare gun might have been what set all this off. If you hit the flare gun a certain way, maybe some explosives or a gas line or something, if you did that a certain way, that's probably what caused the house to go up. I don't think regular rounds from his firearm, rifle, handgun, or whatever would have done this, but maybe I'm wrong.
Heard a man we spoke with a little earlier tonight. He says he lives about a half-mile away. That explosion, he says, was so loud and so powerful that he heard it and he felt it from his home. Here's part of our conversation.
I can't imagine when you look at that video that the guy that was inside wasn't killed. And what concerns me, was there anybody, somebody said it was a duplex. Was it a duplex? If it was, did they get the people out of there?
So lots of questions still unanswered tonight. Keep in mind, again, this is all preliminary information that we're getting so far. Back here on the scene, again, pretty busy out here. We did speak with an officer a little bit earlier as people were just kind of waiting around for that information. He says that officers will be here for a while tonight. As far as the circumstances, that is all still under investigation, and we are still waiting for official confirmation on injuries as well as damages. We'll keep you guys posted.
So, Lily, there was I guess they were encouraging people to shelter in place or at least stay closer to their homes. I imagine from where you are, and you talked to Mr. Maines there are a lot of curious onlookers right now watching that scene.
Absolutely. I haven't done an official head count, of course, but several dozen people are just kind of waiting out here tonight. So, again, this is about as close as you're going to get, a few blocks away from where this incident occurred. As Mr. Maines was mentioning.
What are they waiting on? Do they live in the area? Are they trying to get home? Like, what are they out there just standing around for? I'm not quite sure I caught that.
A lot of people who live half a mile, quarter mile or so away, they all heard it. Some people felt it as he did. So naturally, they're going to come out here. They are curious as far as what happened. So again, we've spoken with a few people here tonight, several dozen, just kind of standing near where we are right now.
All right, so that's what's happening out there in Arlington, Virginia, in the northern part of the state, right across the river from Washington, D.C. suburbs, basically. Now, let's get into some more here. Okay, that we have more. Now, shout out to Robbie Starbuck. This is going to be kind of long here. I'm going to read some of this, and I'm going to link to some evidence that's to support what he's saying, some email receipts and things of that nature to let you know exactly what's happening. Now, it says the explosion in Arlington, Virginia has a very creepy backstory. The man involved, James, he said woo, but it's James U with a Y, was known to the FBI because of his bizarre, incessant emails to U.S. attorneys and members of the government. He appears to be a far-left follower of Noam Chomsky, but I don't think it was politically motivated for him. His social media track record goes far beyond normal kooky stuff into schizophrenic, dark, full-blown lunacy. More information. He was spiraling for years. If the documents that he posted are any indication, he was hospitalized. Hear me out. He was hospitalized for mental health issues. It's always the same pattern. Mental health, that the FBI knew about him. He was on the radar always. But we continue. He was hospitalized for mental health issues, according to him, his wife. Now, I'm not sure if his wife was there in the house, if she was gone, or if they're still together, or what's going on. His wife reported that he wrote a self-deletion letter once, and he believed the media was complicit with the government and seemingly everyone he knew to destroy him. He had even begun to suspect his own wife and sister were part of this vast conspiracy against him, despite not being able to name why anyone would even be remotely interested in him, let alone wanting to hurt him. His whole family seemed concerned about his declining mental health, with one family member raising concerns with him about his increasing paranoia. The guy even wrote letters to Bob Mueller and admitted to watching MSNBC. Someone asked to wonder if the Russia hoax worsened his mental health issues. You know what? I'm going to say this. Unpopular opinion, popular opinion doesn't really matter. I think that the media does have a role to play in some people's declining mental health. Now, am I going to blame MS-13DNC for this guy possibly deleting himself and blowing his house up? No. But when you already in a fragile mental state and you turn on television and they keep feeding you nonsense, it's not going to help it. It's most certainly not going to help it. If anything, it worsens it. But you already got to kind of be in a fragile state to begin with to let this kind of thing impact you to the point where you blow your house up. Anyway, It's a very sad backstory where I think his mental health finally snapped and it resulted in the explosion tonight. One eyewitness said that he had a high caliber firearm. So I also see it's just the latest failure of left-wing gun control laws. I don't know about that part. I mean, that could be. They talking about something he had a flare gun. Maybe he had another weapon. But I think ultimately what blew the house up was the flare gun. Anyway, it would have been illegal for him to possess such a weapon. Okay, hence why I see this as a pretty much only succeeds in disarming law-abiding citizens. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Let it be a wake-up call. If you have a family member spiraling like this guy was, try to get them help. Very sad. Now, there's, again, I'll link to these. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen. These are email receipts of the guy. That's him again, James U with a Y. But there's more. There's a lot more. He was very active. This one was really crazy. I'm going to just read this, then I wrap it on up. This email is from November the 4th, 2023, just about a month ago. It reads, from a few days ago, witness almost all white-owned NBA allowing messaging. Flav, former member of Public Enemy, wearing Milwaukee Bucks shirt. Remember when he sung the national anthem, Flavor Flav? He's talking about that. So he was wearing the Milwaukee Bucks jersey. He had on this clock medallion in the center of his chest, and it was covering part of the word Milwaukee. So he's looking at the word, the two letters M-I, and then K-E-E at the end, and he's breaking it down. It says M-I, Impossible Spies versus Key, K-I, my father's first name, proxy for Asians in this instance, Bucks, like does defendants, K-I, Asians, Public Enemy, blacks conspiring with whites to suppress Asians, hashtag wow, hypocrisy smells like fake bologna, salami. This is nonsense. This is complete nonsense. Somebody who's obviously not well. And this guy, again, was known to authorities. So the question I have as I close is what could have been done? Obviously, this person was spiraling and it wasn't going to end well. I don't know if he had weapons. I don't know if he was known to be physically dangerous, because it's one thing to have some crazy posts, crazy emails. You have mental health issues. It's one thing to have that going on, but it's something separate to actually act on it in a violent way. So I wonder if there was any kind of violent tendencies before what happened tonight. And I wonder what they were trying to find in the house with the search warrant. That'd be my question. And again, where was his wife? Where was his family? Where were all these people in his life to prevent this from happening? I'm not trying to blame them. I just have a lot of questions that are, as of right now, unanswered. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on the house explosion up there in Arlington? Could it have been prevented? Was it inevitable? Could anybody have seen this whole thing coming? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Here's yet another example of somebody being known to authorities, and then these things happen. But to give them a little bit of credit, when I say them, I mean the authorities. What could they have done to prevent this from happening? I don't really know. You know that he's having mental health problems, but what do you really do about it? That's the question I have. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.